What do you do when your garden gets destroyed peak growing season? Well, if you're stubborn like me, you start all over again. This is the Urban Sentinel, and let's get into it. Several weeks ago, I came out to check on my garden in the morning before I go to work like I normally do, and I found complete, total decimation of pretty much everything that I had worked hard and planted and watched grow, seemingly overnight, literally. The culprits were woodchucks, and they're around my property. They've got several holes everywhere, and when I try to find them, plug them up as best I can. I've done the gopher gas grenades, and I've done the mothballs, and it deters them, but they always have some other place they come in. One of these holes right here, you can see what's left of the depression, was right by the fence, and the original fence came up to this high. And they pretty much would climb up and then drop right in and have themselves a feast. So I took the time, I upgraded, kept the original fencing, added a second layer of fencing, zip tied sections in between so they couldn't scoot in and catch the gaps that were there before. And for the most part, I have not had an incursion inside the garden since doing that. There are several other things I did as far as deterrents go. You can see I've got these reflective strips in there. I have a motion sensor light on the inside of the gate that activates if there detects motion inside or near it. I have some other lighting around there as well. So overall, it's kept them at bay. And of course, I've gone around to clear out and clean up any of the holes that I do find, which I found at least 3 more. Now, I did not replant every single thing that I originally put in because some of the items, the vegetables, took much too long to grow, and it's already coming up on the 2nd week of September right now. And realistically, I can probably expect, unless we have a sudden cold snap, to be able to make it through to at least the end of October for most of the crops that I have. And then that's going to be about it. Now let me show you what I've got so far. All right, these are green beans I actually have growing inside a concrete form tower. It was a little experiment I was trying. You know, it only cost me a couple bucks. I just wanted to see if it would work out. Not quite to the extent that I wanted it to. Moving on, I've got peas inside this tub. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them planted. These 2 are doing okay. That one was struggling a little bit last week, and that one's still kind of struggling, but I think they'll do all right. My broccoli is subpar for the amount of time that the seeds have been in there, and the spinach is pretty much non-existent. You know, you've got those 2 little bits, and that's it, and they've been sitting in there for almost a month. Cucumber is doing quite well. This is dill, but I've got 3 different stems coming up. They're actually starting to look pretty good. And back here, I've got some beets and some radish. The beets are doing all right. I did pull one just to see. They're still very, very small. So a lot of the greens, the tops are growing, but I still need to wait a little bit longer for the rest of the body to really fill in and get a little bit bigger. This is some loose Paris lettuce. I've been snipping at it, taking some off the top. The stems were a lot higher. I was going to thin it out, but considering that I'm limited on the space that I have, I decided to keep it all together because I'm effectively just taking the leaves anyway. So I cut them down close to the stem, and then once I've pulled off a bunch, I cut the stem and then let the rest grow out. Now the key factor for the plants that I did reseed is the amount of time it takes them to germinate. I pretty much, anything that took longer than 2 weeks to germinate, I mean, if it's a matter of a few days, no big deal, but if it's 3 weeks to germinate, I didn't bother putting it in because I knew that by the time the first seedlings start coming up, it's still going to take them a little bit longer. And most of these are fairly fast growing, and I've had decent weather, hot weather for a lot of the days, so I've kept them watered, kept my eye on them, and it's been doing pretty good. Now, moving on to the next one, bucket watermelon. Just for the hell of it, I decided to try it out, and as we come up, one tiny little watermelon right there. I don't expect too much from it, but again, there are some things I figure, why not just give it a shot? Now, my tomatoes, I've got Roma tomatoes growing here. The woodchucks, when they came through, they just nibbled a little bit on the Roma tomatoes when they were significantly smaller, And then also on the mixed red tomatoes that are over here, there's supposed to be a rainbow assortment of them. They were also significantly smaller. And as you can see, both of them have gotten much bigger, and I've managed to prune a lot of the smaller stems off so it can supply more nutrients going up to the actual fruit at the top. Then down over here, I've got an eggplant. It's making its way very slowly. That's just rosemary I've been growing, also using that as a scent deterrent as well. The hot peppers, they are now starting to really come up. They're not doing as well, considering that I planted them the same time I did the sweet pepper, and the sweet pepper is looking significantly better. Down in here, this is a little bit of collard greens, not doing as good. This is wild turnip. It came out of nowhere. It's actually not what's in the rest of this. Which I actually have is kale and some Swiss chard, which you can see is just starting to really come up now. But the pride and joy, the moneymaker as it is, are the squash. So over here, this is some spaghetti squash. It's doing well, and what I plan to do is I'm going to try to string tie up the rest of the main stem as it starts to grow to keep it going vertically. And then we got some butternut here. And I put in green beans to help out with the nitrogen in the soil, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start to string tie up the main stem as it grows. This is my most hopeful. This right here is good old-fashioned yellow squash. It's been coming up well. I actually have 2 right here coming in, and hopefully I'll be able to get them pollinated. And then over here, I've got some zucchini. It's looking quite good because when the woodchucks got at all of the squash the first time, they were significantly smaller because they like the leaves basically tender and juicy and sweet. But as the leaves get bigger and the stems get longer, they get those pricklies on them, and I guess they're not as appealing to them, so they usually don't tend to bother them once they get to a certain size. So that's always the key, is trying to protect them before they get torn up and eaten up by the actual woodchucks. Now in here, I've got sweet potato. And the way the sweet potato works is you plant the sweet potato, it starts to develop stems, and they start to grow up, and they'll grow and they'll grow and they'll spread out if you have it just in the ground, but I'm training this one up vertically. But what happens is these will hopefully, before it gets too cold, start to develop flowers. And what you do is you pull the flowers, they're called slips, and that's what you actually replant, and then those slips turn into more sweet potatoes. So hopefully I do get some flowers before it gets too cold, but there's still room in the greenhouse where I intend to move these 3 baskets of potatoes inside. This way they stay warmer, sheltered, so even if it's a little bit cooler outside, they're not going to be as affected. Now, if you watched the other video that I made right after the decimation, I said that they didn't get at the potatoes, which that's what I thought the case was. But 2 weeks had gone by and nothing came up through any of the material at all. And I did a little digging and I didn't find any stems, I didn't find any leaves. I went halfway down in here, couldn't find anything. So it's one of 2 things. They rooted and routed it out, and then it's just the pile of decomposing materials that settled back into the spot, or something else actually got to them during that time period where I didn't see them grow anymore. So I replanted, put in a new potato in this one and a new potato here. This potato has been in for about 2 weeks and the stems are coming up. I'm going to let it get a little bit higher, probably another 4 inches higher, so about up to this high, and then I'll add some more layering. I want to wait to see if anything happens with this one. I know where the spud is, I know where the chit is down in there, but still nothing's come through. I clear the areas and I think I see something, but it's just loose debris. So a majority of what I'm planting is hopefully, again, fingers crossed, will be effectively ready to be harvested by the end of October going into November, as long as there's not a cold snap here. I mean, I'm in southern New England. Right now we're still good. Today's 81 degrees. It was a chilly 68 degrees for the last 2 days, and we're supposed to have some rain this afternoon, a thunderstorm coming in. But if we can keep the daytime temps at least above 60, 65 going into the end of October before it gets too cold at night, I should be good, and then I can move everything else that I'm going to keep into the greenhouse, which I did some secondary work as well. I'll show you what that one is too. Now this, of course, is my Black Betty compost bin. And if you look at the archaeological lines, you can see that it's gone down significantly, because I just spent probably a half hour or so tilling up and loosening up the soil and then pulling it out and putting it into pots. One of my security features here, solar power, motion light, add on top for the pinwheel as well. Now, what you see here is where a lot of that compost went. I'm going to be doing some greenhouse growing from start to finish to see how it does, basically September all the way through till something comes up. So I've got peas set up. Basically it's some bush level peas around the outside and two pole peas that'll go up this trellis support here. Now I've got some bush beans in this tub. I've got carrots that I've got growing up in here. I've got beets coming into here, spinach in this one, some collard greens here, and then radish all along here. So I'll end up doing a little bit of rearranging when I bring the potato baskets in, and depending upon how the rest of the vegetables are growing and what the temperature is like, I may bring those in as well just to keep them in here. I still have to do some insulating in the greenhouse. Got to seal up some of the corners. There's a couple of air gaps that are popping up, so I want to get it nice closed up so this way I can retain as much heat as possible, and then hopefully I'll still be able to grow something in the greenhouse during the colder weather as we go into the winter time. So check out the video that YouTube suggests you watch, and like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.